Welcome to Next Chapter Women, She Blooms in Solitude, a podcast for moms over 40 with independent or young adult children ready to rediscover who they are now. I'm Jess Bordas, joined by my co-host Maureen Mancy, and each week we'll uncover how to heal, grow, and reconnect with your inner strength through intentional alone time, emotional wellness, holistic care, and powerful mindset shifts so you can define your identity and reshape what middle age means for you. As certified mindset and identity coaches, holistic practitioners, and moms navigating midlife ourselves, we're here to walk with you. Join us in using solitude as the foundation to bloom again. All right. Welcome to another episode of the Next Chapter Women podcast. We are so happy to have you here. Today's episode is From Lost to Living My Purpose. If you've ever wondered whether it's possible to reinvent yourself in your 40s, 50s, and beyond, and to find and just fall in love with who you are, I feel like today's story is really going to inspire you. I'm here with my business partner, Maureen. Hi, Maureen. And she is going to talk about how she went from feeling lost and just basically going through the motions to being present and living a happy, fulfilled life, and how you can take some of those same steps. Thanks for being here with us today as we kick off our Next Chapter podcast. This is
Happy to be
exciting.
here.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just get right into it. So you and we have a business together, Growth Catalyst, and we've been on quite a journey, and we won't go through all that because we're here today to talk about your journey. Before stepping into your next chapter identity, can you talk about with us where you were, how you were feeling? What did that look like for you?
Well, before I found out that I needed to change my actor, I was in a place that I was lost. I was going through the motions. I was drinking a lot. And I used my drinking. It kind of became a habit more than like I felt like I needed it. And then it was like I needed it. It was a habit that turned to a vice. I was feeling sick all the time. I was feeling jittery all the time if I didn't have a drink. I couldn't wait to get home after a day of work and have a drink when I got home. And then that would take the edge off. And it was just a vicious cycle. And this went on for some years. And this is why, while I was raising my son, I had left my husband in 2011, and my drinking kind of skyrocketed from there because I was raising a 4-year-old and being on my own, and it was a whole new life. And it kind of was like, I'm free, I can do whatever I want. And now I'm raising a 4-year-old, working a full-time job, drinking on top of it, and just going through the motions of just getting it done because I had to. So I was doing it, I was functional, but I was not in a good place emotionally and physically. That's so fast forward to 2020, sorry, COVID hit. And that's when my drinking really, really got bad. I noticed myself drinking more like on the weekends. I was home more. I would drink through the week, and then I would drink more on the weekends, and I would be sleeping a lot of my weekends and not even realizing that it was affecting my son the way that it was. And he didn't really say anything, but I was hurting him. I was hurting everybody. I was hurting myself the most.
Did you want to stop? Did you tell yourself, like, I know this is bad and this is not working and I don't want to do this? What were
Yeah, yes.
those dialogues like? What was
Yeah.
going through your head, your brain?
My brain, what was going through my brain was that I wanted to stop, but I wasn't ready to stop. I knew I had a problem. I just wasn't ready. And at that point, nobody was coming to me and saying, hey, I'm worried about you. Or if they have, I would shut them down, and I wouldn't entertain the fact that I really needed help and I needed to stop. And it wasn't until, I guess, April of 2021. So I'm like 9 years in of heavily drinking. I mean, I was functional,
Is
but
this leading to your turning point? Like when
yes,
you
yes.
okay, okay.
Yeah, this is leading to my turning point. I was just drinking more, and I remember my son calling my ex to pick him up, like, mommy's drunk. I don't want to be here. He would come get his son, and then my ex would tell me to get my act together, and then I would get my son back, and nothing ever happened. Like, I always was great with my son. He would come back to me, I'd be okay. I still was drinking, but but I was never punished. I was never punished by my ex, which was great. So I feel like I had a halo hanging over my head because I it was never taken to the courts that, like, my son could be taken away. I would even go out and drive and I would be okay. I never got a speeding ticket, or I never was pulled over. So I was like, wow, these are all signs for me to get my act together. So what are you waiting for? It wasn't until I was just about to go away on a really great vacation. It was the first vacation after COVID. And I, was getting ready to go away, and I realized when my best friend had called me, she was really worried because I had gone to a happy hour and I had drank, and I drove there to the happy hour. I didn't Uber it, I didn't take a
Is
train.
this the happy hour we were together?
Oh, yeah.
Is that the
Yes.
yeah, okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
Is this the point where you
This was definitely one of the points
because I
because
can't remember if this was before your vacation or after when we went to
it
the
was the I think
okay,
it was, like, the 2 weeks before my vacation.
okay, it was bad. Go ahead, keep
Yeah.
going.
So I drove, we had fun, and we got there safely, but I was driving buzzed/drunk 'cause we pre-gamed it, and got there, and I don't think I drank because I think I was feeling pretty good when I got there, so I didn't need a drink, and, I was drinking water. Maybe I did drink because I remember driving home pretty buzzed. So, I maybe
I
had
remember being in that ride on the way home.
Yeah,
Can I talk about that?
sure
Because
can.
you were really scared because you were on the interstate and you were saying it's almost like I can't see. Do you remember that?
Yeah, and
I
we
remember those
yes.
words, and it was like you couldn't pull over because you're on the interstate. I mean, you coulda gotten to the emergency lane, but I think we ended up getting off at an exit and stopping
We
at a
did,
McDonald's or
we
something to
did,
try yeah,
we
do you
did.
I remember.
I forget what McDonald's, but I managed to get over and get off on an exit, and I was like, "Let's eat something," I can't drive, I'm feeling, pretty buzzed, and so, I didn't realize how scared I made people after that. Well, we got home, right? And I guess I slept it off and probably got up and drank the next day, but oh, and then a couple weeks went by. In the meantime, nobody's saying anything until my sister had gone out with my sister-in-law and said, "I'm really worried about Maureen." My twin sister had told me this later. I think, she's drinking and she's driving and she's not even realizing we're so worried about her. That was a turning point. Right before my vacation, I had a conversation with my best friend. This was like May 22nd of 2021, and I said, "Beck," I said, "I'm gonna stop drinking when I get back from vacation." And let me tell you, I had a great vacation, but I don't remember half of it. My boyfriend had to retell every night of our vacation because I blacked out probably 3 of the 4 nights that we were there because I drank heavily, and came home and was shaky on the plane. I even think I had a shot with a girl that I had met in a bar that I didn't realize that I met because I don't remember. I was okay coming home. I wasn't drunk anymore. The buzz wore off. She's like, "Oh yeah, I met you in the bar. Don't you remember me?" And I was like, "Yeah, no."
Yeah,
And
I've been
then
there.
we had, like, a shot of tequila before me and my boyfriend had left to come go to the airport, and it was that night I got home, and I remember I came home to my son's bedroom transformed. My other friend had redid it with her friends while I was away. It was beautiful, and then I talked to my twin sister a little bit that night, and then the very next day, I think I went to bed at 6 o'clock. I think I came home and had 2 shots. I was in bed pretty late that night, and the next day, I went to bed really early. I think I may have had 1 shot and threw the rest of the vodka down the sink, and then that was it. And I never had vodka again. I never took another shot of vodka, and it was great. So that's where my journey began. It was June 1st. It was June 1st because I went
That's
away for
right.
4 or 5 days, and then it was the day after Memorial Day, I believe, and that was it, and that was the beginning of my journey.
I know you talk about how there weren't a lot of physical symptoms of withdrawal. Do you remember when you first got sober? Do you remember what that felt like? What you felt inside, what was going on around you, what you noticed? Was there anything different? What stands out?
I used to keep the alcohol under the sink, so I would normally have a stash under the sink that wasn't there anymore. I would drive past the liquor store and be like, "Oh, I normally stop," and I was on a roll where I knew I was stopping, so I'm changing my habit here. I'm like, in my head, when I'm disciplined and determined to do something, I will do it. I will do it. I knew I wanted to do it. I knew I wanted to help myself. I knew I wanted to get better for me, my family, my friends, my son, first and foremost, my son. And I noticed I drank more coffee. I went from a cup of coffee a day to like 3 or 4, and I got a sweet tooth, and I was eating a lot of sweets. So I was replacing the alcohol with caffeine and sweets. And I remember gaining some weight. I remember that first like 6 months. I was like, "Ooh, looking," because because it was such a different life for me. I went from drinking alcohol, vodka, to never feeling good, so I didn't eat a lot, or I was throwing up from the acid in my stomach, and just I was never feeling good. So I was pretty thin because I didn't really eat, or I was sick from alcohol. And so the feeling of regaining, getting my appetite back was awesome
Mm.
because I was feeling good. So I wanted to eat. I just wanted to eat sweets. And so I remember putting more sweets in my apartment, and, I always worked out, so that never really changed. So I always worked out even when I was drinking, and I thought, "Oh, I work out, so I'm okay." So but it was counteractive to each other because I'm drinking and I'm not really taking care of myself, but I always defended like, "Ah, I'm good, I work out."
Did you know that you were about to embark on a transformation, and did you have a vision at all of what you wanted for yourself now that you had stopped drinking?
I wanted for myself to be present. I wanted to be there for my son and for him to be able to talk to me and to want to spend time with me. And I wasn't falling asleep. And I was actually listening to things that he was saying and being present and remembering what he was saying. And I wanted a different life with him. He never really talked about my drinking because I hid it. I hid my drinking. He knew I was drinking, but I never had it out in front of him. I hid it. And that's what alcoholics do when they know when they're taking it too far. So,
So, and we'll get to this part later because you talk a lot about being present and that's something that you wanted. Why do you think what were you running from? What were you trying to escape from? Why were you avoiding being present during the time that you were drinking? Do you have a sense of
I mean,
what
the
was
thing
going?
is like, I have to say, I wasn't going through like, when I left my ex-husband, I was okay. It just became I had all this freedom to do whatever I wanted. And it was just like, oh, you have a rough day at work and you come home, you're like, I want to drink. And I guess it was a lot of like the running around when my son was young and running here and running there. And that just took the edge off. I remember being in relationships with men, and I remember wanting so much attention put on me. Like I yearned for their attention so much, like just always wanting them to tell me that I'm pretty, or like being intimate with them, and am I doing it right, am I pleasing them. It was like I always looked outside of myself. I was always either drinking to get numb or looking outside of myself to get acceptance. And I'm lucky. Again, I guess that I didn't lose my family and friends in any of this because, like I said, I was pretty functional. So I'm very grateful for that. But I definitely hit a low where I knew that it was like, I need to stop this because if I don't stop, it's going to get bad, or I'm going to get in a car accident, or I'm going to have my son taken away from me.
So let's talk about. your transformation, what you realized as you started to transform, and really the results that you've achieved. When you talk about this starts in 2021. So this isn't something that happened over the course of, a month, 6 weeks, 6 months. This is years. But if you could just maybe talk about things that you realized, things that you've learned, things and some of the results that you've achieved and seen now.
So, I mean, I would say that like my spiritual journey didn't start quite when I stopped drinking. I was just getting used to being sober, just living the life of being sober. And again, I was fortunate enough where I didn't have to go to meetings. I was disciplined enough where I could even go into a liquor store and not buy liquor. Like if I was getting it for Christmas or something, I was just disciplined because I was on this new path. I was drinking mocktails and, finding new drinks and drinking wine without the stuff in it, the um I always had my daily word.
Oh yeah, the free wine. I remember that.
Yeah,
The
the
free
free
wine.
wine.
It's
Yeah.
good.
I always had my daily word and I would read that every day, but it didn't resonate with me until I started to be present to really see the messages of what each day was saying, like a word. I guess I just my son, the effect it had on him, that's where I was. My main focus was on him because we were starting to spend more time together talking when he knew I was sober. And I remember like 30 days in, he looked under the sink and I said, "What are you looking for?" He's like, "I want to see if you have your wine there." And I was like, "Haven't I proven myself? It's been a month." And he was like, "Yeah, mom, yeah, but I was so nervous when you were drinking." And, I didn't realize how much it affected him until I got sober. And I was just I felt so good. And I think that that's what I was looking at. That's where I felt so good physically. So when I was eating and I was working out, I actually felt good. Like I'm like, I feel revitalized because now I don't have the toxins in my body. And when I'm working out, I feel good and I feel alive and my face looked better and I regained color in my face and I just noticed like lines like I just wasn't putting the toxin. That alone drove me to just that to stay sober. It wasn't probably up until the last couple. I was just living a great life without alcohol at this point. At and I'm just so grateful that I didn't really feel an urge. I could be around it, honestly. I could make like my twin sister and my brother-in-law a drink and I would be okay. And I didn't feel that's where I knew there was something bigger than me that helped keep me sober
Wow.
because I felt like once I got sober, God said, "Okay, I'm gonna help you." Something worked inside of me to not want it at all, and I could be around it, which was weird. Everyone and I would go, be around people, and they would be like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Like I'm drinking, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm completely fine." I would go to pub crawls after that and be fine, and I wouldn't drink, and I would, either get mocktails or just drink water or seltzer, just the like club soda and lemon and a lime. And I was okay. And I felt good because I was the designated driver for the first time in a lot of years. I felt like I was giving back to my family. I felt like I was giving the best of myself to my
Yeah.
family again, the best of
Yeah.
me. And everybody was telling me how proud they were of me and how like you're doing so amazing and we're so proud of you. And that alone, and because I'm very close with my family, as you know, and just being the designated driver was really great for me because I never was. If I was, I was normally drinking, and so I wouldn't be a designated driver, or I would Uber or something. And I was finally the designated driver, and it felt good. It felt good.
It sounds really empowering. Like you're able to have more control.
Yeah,
You think like when you're drinking that I don't know about you, but I know like during some of my drinking years that like that's how I thought I was getting control. It was like something I would do to take the control. All these other things can happen around me, but I can drink. Like I can just this is something that I can do. And really
right.
once you get drunk, you're not in control.
control.
You're complete. Like, it's crazy the things that your mind, these narratives and stories that your mind tells you that play out in your head. But that must have give you a sense of empowerment and control, being able, just, it's amazing to listen to you talk about being able to give back and how fulfilling, how good that felt inside. Something that someone would think is so small, like being able to be the designated driver,
I
was
love
so
it.
huge.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love
Yeah.
I love driving people around and they know that they're safe now. Because there were many times back before I got sober, if I was driving, I was like, "Oh, I'm glad Maureen got home okay." I mean, like, because it seemed like she was pretty drunk out, like, I mean,
Yeah.
there were times over the years, I guess people didn't wanna say stuff to me because I wasn't ready to admit that I had a problem. But I remember being on probably one of my first vacations with my son since I got sober. We drove to Myrtle Beach. It was a family vacation, and me and my son, gosh, it was what? I think he was going to be a freshman in high school. And I remember he said to me, "Mom, I love that you're sober because I have the best of you now." And I remember him saying that to me, and it just meant so much. I get the best parts of you now. And he didn't see them so much before, but he sees them
That's
all the time now, and he's 17, and we have a really, really good relationship. We've had a lot of rebuilding to do, but he trusts me a lot
I
now.
can imagine it's really, really hard to go back to that place, to think about that stuff, to talk about that stuff. It takes you to a place you don't want to be. And I mean, you are somebody I know that lives a life of taking accountability. Like, there's nobody I know that takes, I gotta dry my eye. There's nobody I know that takes accountability like more than you. You take accountability for things. It's
Sure.
something that's really important to you, but
Yeah, it is, and I operate accountability is key for me. Like, if I make a mistake at work, I'm accountable if I make the mistake, and I have to be honest with you that I never had a problem talking about my drinking when I stopped. I never had a problem sharing my story. I'm not ashamed of it because it's made me who I am today.
you know what you said the other day? I wrote this down. You said this, people have to see the real me in order to see the real them. And I thought that was so profound. Just unpack that for a
It's
minute.
true.
People have to see the real me in order to see the real them. So
No.
powerful. So now we know that you made this decision, you were living this sober life, and you talk about the spiritual part and that journey. It didn't happen right out of the gate of when you became sober. There were some things that you had to do to take care of yourself, to get your health back and whatnot. When did the spiritual journey begin? What is your
I
spiritual
mean,
journey? Tell us about that.
I have to say, I have a mother who has guided me through my life with her spirituality, and she has helped instill a lot of the things that she practices in her life. She's like, meditation was a big thing. She's been meditating for years, and it wasn't up until about like a couple of years ago where I really, really started to meditate. And I started to see things just blossom around me. And when I meditate, I know that like something's working inside of me when I'm laying there and being present in a moment, whether it's silent meditation or a meditation that I put on. And I know that something's working through me in the best way. And I've been doing that, like night and day now for a couple of years. And it's really impacted me in positive ways. It's just it's the words and the words of meditation and whoever's doing it, whoever I decide I want to do during meditation, I feel so free in a moment. It wasn't always easy to get there because your mind races, or you're distracted, you're thinking about things. I think I'm doing really pretty well right now.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that, about the beginning, or ask you to talk about that rather, about meditating and when you started. And did you have to practice a lot, right? To get better. You don't just sit down and you've never meditated or never really put a lot of energy into it and then meditate and it's like all perfect. Can you talk about that more? Your meditative journey?
like I said, it kind of is a little blurry of where it started to take more and more. So my mom did it, and then I have a twin sister that does it, and we started to send each other meditations, and then
I remember, like, when I would meditate off and on first started, we talked about this before, that I would judge myself as I would notice thoughts that would pop up, and they say, "Let it, pass like a cloud," but I would judge myself. I didn't understand truly what meditation was about, thinking that I wasn't doing it right or practicing it right because a thought would come up, and I was attaching meaning to that. Did your meditative journey do
oh,
you
in the
rem
beginning, I remember attaching things to my thoughts,
Yeah.
but then as I started to do it more, I realized um, I wasn't attaching to my thoughts, and I was finally living in the moments where I wasn't thinking about things, and I've gotten to a point in my life that if I'm feeling all over the place and as busy as I am, I will sit down for 10, 15 minutes and breathe and do a meditation, and it just sets the tone. And I'll put on a meditation that will help me get back to the core values of like how I wanna be that day, you know? Like, if I'm feeling all over the place, I've gotten to the point, like I said, I'll sit down and I will do something that empowers me and sets the tone for the day if I'm feeling off. And I'm like and I want the day to be good, and I have to say most of my days are pretty good. Meditating has empowered me to think positively. It's helped keep me grounded. It's helped me see things in ways where I know that, like, when something happens that, it bothers me, I'm realizing that it's happening for me. There's lessons in things.
Mm.
And I feel like I'm instilling these same things into my son, who doesn't really understand it right now because he's 17, but he's getting there. And I talk a lot about it, and I'm trying to instill in him the things that my mom and my sisters and I and you, we do now to make our kids' pathways more positive and different, and not believe in like the false stuff that's put out there from like the negative things that are put out there in the world, but turn them around and make them positive and know that there's lessons learned from everything. And meditation is a huge part in me, or affirmations, or listening to spiritual teachers. If I'm having I put a spiritual teacher on. Wayne Dyer's a big one for me. My parents met him on a cruise, and they've read his books, and I've, I don't know if I've read through well, one book of his fully, but his work is really amazing, and it touches home to me now.
Have all of these tools, or can you talk about, to people listening, helped you connect to yourself and improve your relationship with yourself and in ways that have healed you?
Yes, because I was saying before, and you don't know exactly the time it happened, right? I don't know exactly the time it happened. I just realized that my relationships now, like, I'm very, very I like to be alone, and I don't have a problem being in solitude, and I'm very comfortable in my own space, and I love to be around people, but I don't feel lonely when I'm by myself. I feel confident, I love myself, I'm happy with the person that I am, I'm happy with where I'm headed.
But it
I
takes a while to get there,
it
right?
does take a while to get there. You don't even know when it happens.
That's
It
right. That's right.
magically happens when you use these tools regularly, and I said before, with the men in my life, I used to really look for them for validation, and now I don't. And now, like, my boyfriend just naturally looks at me, and just I don't need, as much as I love my companionship with my boyfriend, he's not somebody that contributes to how I make myself feel inside.
The complete 180. I know this because we are business partners, that being alone has become an opportunity for you, for me, for us to embrace solitude and improve and connect with ourselves and improve our relationship with ourselves. And I think that there's a lot of negative, like, connotation that people associate with alone. I think a lot of times people hear alone and they associate that with being lonely. it's uncomfortable at first. It really is. What you're talking about isn't something that happened over the course of, like we said earlier, 6 weeks, 6 months. This takes work and time, but I do think that a lot of people being alone feels weird, and a lot of people equate that with
Yeah.
loneliness.
Yeah, and I like quiet. I like nothing. I love the peace and quiet. Hear the birds outside. It's just the quiet is where I really feel the power inside of me. Like I just, and that I'm comfortable with it.
I
And
agree with that. That was a good statement. The quiet is where you really feel the power inside of you, and that looks different for everyone. But it looks like you don't know where you're going to experience that. But for me, that happens a lot in nature, and for you, I don't know. Tell us the times where when it's quiet, where you feel that power or that higher power or something outside of yourself.
I think in those moments is when I'm feeling so grateful and so joyful and so blessed in these quiet moments that we take for granted. And I really appreciate them. I really, really appreciate them because we don't get enough of them. We don't allow ourselves a time to get quiet and realize that the quiet is where we're going to find our inner strength to grow if we just listen and we just get rid of the distractions. Like I said, it's not out there, it's all here. Only we can be the change that we want to see. And I am a true believer in that, in the journey that I'm living now. I see it all around me. I'm seeing all these wonderful things happen around me because the things that I'm doing work. I mean, I also work out. Yoga's a big thing. If I'm feeling like I need to do a yoga today because that takes you, your yoga is your the way you practice yoga is yours and what feels good for you. And there's just the quiet still in the positions that you're in that also bring you inside to a place that you can't get when you're constantly being distracted by other things.
Maureen, for the listeners, okay? What would you recommend is a good way to start their journey or to build connection with themselves? What are some simple things, okay, that people could do today?
I would say I would start journaling about the things that you want to see happen in your life. I think journaling is a really big thing. I want to do more journaling. Um, journaling just about the things that you're grateful for. And, we have so many things that run in our head that are negative all the time. And when you journal about the positive things, it forces you to change the narrative of, oh, it's Monday. Oh, I'm so tired. Oh, it's this, but like, let's start, getting up and being grateful that you get up in the morning. Start writing this stuff down. I would do like a good morning stretch, just to get your body moving. Like you got up today. Start there. And then I would start, if you're interested in meditation, just start putting like 5-minute meditations on just to get quiet and deep breathing. I mean, I have a good deep breathing thing where you breathe in for, what is it? 4, hold it for 7, breathe out for 8. I would do that 4 times. So I would start there. I would start with breathing. I would start with a 5-minute meditation and some journaling
Oh,
about the
that's good
things
stuff.
you're grateful
Yeah.
for.
Okay, so it popped back into my mind where I was going. So, what I was thinking about is I want people to understand that when we're talking about being comfortable, being alone, and embracing that as an opportunity to be in solitude, we're not telling people, okay, like, hey, you've got to ditch your friends, you've got to cut off your family, you had to stop going out and seeing people and need to be off the grid in the wilderness camping out. I want
Yeah.
people to understand that that's not what we're talking about. You can still do all the things, but I don't know. Can you add to that where I'm going with that at all?
Yeah, I would say I'm agreeing with you, Jess, that don't stop doing the things that you like doing. I would actually, though, If you want to start getting quiet, I would start setting boundaries. All too much, we say yes to everything. And you feel like you can't say no because, oh, they're going to be mad at me. Nope.
And that's another whole show. You could have another
Yeah.
whole several shows about the people pleasing.
I would say if you look at the people you're hanging out with, I mean, are you spending your time wisely with the people that you're hanging out with? Do they bring out the best in you? Do you leave them feeling frustrated? I'm just saying, having those really good friendships and family around you that make you feel good, and start evaluating the people in your life that make you feel bad, that you say, "Oh, I gotta see them, I don't feel like seeing them." Then don't do it. Then don't do it. Because if you want to be your best you have to surround yourself with the things and the people that make you feel good so you can grow and be a better person. And I have to say, I'm at the place in my life where many of the people I want to spend the time with them because they bring value in my life. They lift me up. They're positive.
Yeah.
They bring out the best in me. That's what keeps me happy. And I see this peace around me because I'm creating it.
Wow.
I'm creating what I have around me.
And other people in your life are going to feel that.
Yes.
Your peace that you feel around you that you've created is going to have a ripple effect, and other people in your world are going to feel that immensely. Yeah. So,
I'm really happy because I've had to create boundaries. And I'm still learning. I'm still
yeah.
learning. Just like as we do our business, I'm realizing I am having to create more space for time for business. So it's like, do I want to go out with my girlfriends to dinner and then do this? Or am I going to say no to the dinner for now and have a night by myself to relax and refresh and renew so I can be good to work on my business stuff with you or, over the weekend?
And did you ever think, if you go back 3, 4 years ago, do you think you would be where you are today? You started a
Absolutely
business,
not. No.
you've transformed, and we've listened, and you've told us a lot about this spiritual transformation that is so huge. Then there's these other byproducts, these other things that have come out.
Right.
You know,
And
it's huge.
it is huge. You're right along with me. I mean, the first business we started wasn't so successful, but
That's another
we realized, given the tools that we've used to help us get to this place, that we didn't look at that as a failure. We
no.
looked at that as a stepping stone into the next phase that we were supposed to have. This just wasn't ready for us yet.
Yeah,
We
they're gonna
just,
hear all about that in another episode. That was the vending venture.
yeah. I mean, and we invested a lot of time in that
Yes, we
too.
did. Yes, we did.
But we didn't look at it as a failure.
No.
We looked at it, we look back and say, this is what we're taking from that because that brought us to this place.
Yeah.
And yeah, so well,
Well, if you're listening and thinking that any of this sounds like you or resonates with you, you are definitely in the right spot. And we invite you to join us as we explore how to heal, how to grow, how to reconnect with your inner power. And
right.
if Maureen's story inspired you, please hit subscribe so you never miss another transformation here in the Next Chapter Women podcast. And Maureen, I mean, you are truly inspirational. Like, I have chills. Thank you for being so transparent, for putting yourself out there. And
Yeah.
is there anything you would like to conclude with here?
I am so happy that I was able to share with you that it can be done, that you can change, you can get into your next chapter. It's not always going to be that alone place. If you want it, you can have it. Again, it doesn't happen overnight, but it can happen if you really want it and
Well,
in love with
Maureen,
yourself.
yeah, thank you for being here. We're going to have many, many, many more episodes. And until next time.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Jess.
Yeah. All right. Bye,
Bye.
guys. Thanks for listening to Next Chapter Women, She Blooms in Solitude. We'd love to hear from you, so come say hi on Facebook and share your biggest takeaway from today's episode. And if you're ready to rediscover who you are in this new season, you can learn more about how we can help or book a free empowerment call through the link in the show notes. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss what's next.